If you bought your current home 10, 15, or even 20 years ago, there's a good chance you're about to make a mistake. Not because you're inexperienced, actually, it's the opposite. The problem is that you have experience. You already know how buying a house works, or at least you think you do. The issue is that the home buying process today is very different than it was for many Center County homeowners when they bought their current home. The financing is different, the competition is different. The inventory is different. Even the way that buyers work with real estate agents has changed. And the people who struggle the most in today's market are often not first-time home buyers. It's often homeowners who haven't purchased a home in decades or more. So, in this video, I want to walk you through the 5 biggest changes that I've seen and explain what you need to know before you start looking at homes. Because the buyers who have the smoothest experience, they aren't necessarily the smartest buyers, they're the most prepared buyers. Before we get into the 5 changes, let's talk about why this matters. Right now, Center County remains a relatively competitive market. Countywide, inventory is sitting around a month and a half of supply. A normalized market is around 4 to 6 months of inventory. In the State College Area School District, it's around 1 month of inventory. In practical terms, that means there are fewer choices available than what many homeowners remember from previous buyer cycles. The median sold price countywide right now is around $390,000, and in the State College Area School District, it's closer to $450,000. Now, this isn't a market update video. I'm mentioning these numbers because they explain why preparation matters today more than it used to. And that leads us directly into change number 1. Years ago, a lot of people started the process by looking at houses first. They'd jump online and then go drive around the neighborhoods, maybe attend a couple of open houses, and then eventually they would figure out the financing and the strategy. Today, that sequence is backwards. The strongest buyers start planning before they ever tour a property. And there are 3 reasons for this. First, financing has become more important. Second, inventory is tighter, like I alluded to before. Third, homeowners today often have a home to sell before they buy. When I sit down with a homeowner who's thinking about moving, the first conversation usually isn't about the houses. It's about options. How much equity do you have? What would your home likely sell for? What would your monthly payment look like on your next home? Do you need to sell first? Can you buy first? What's the backup plan if timing doesn't work perfectly? The people who answered those questions early tend to make better decisions later. This one surprises people. Many homeowners still think in terms of purchase price. They'll tell me, I don't want to spend more than $600, but that's not the actual question. The question is, what monthly payment am I comfortable with? Because the relationship between price and payment has changed dramatically over the last several years. 2 homes with similar prices can create very different monthly obligations depending on the financing terms, taxes, insurance, and the interest rate. The buyers who perform best today start with affordability, then work backwards into a price range, not the other way around. Because if you get the monthly payment wrong, nothing else really matters. Quick side note here. If you're finding this helpful, please consider subscribing. You can like too. I spend an unhealthy amount of time looking at housing data and market trends all throughout Center County. And honestly, there are probably healthier hobbies that I could have. But at this point, the spreadsheets have become part of my personality. Anyway, let's get back to the good stuff. Back to the show. This is one of the biggest differences I see. Years ago, buyers often spent months casually looking. Today, when the right property appears, you may not have weeks to decide. Sometimes you only have days, occasionally hours. That doesn't mean you should rush though. It means you should prepare. The buyers who struggle are usually making every decision real time. Sounds stressful, right? The buyers who succeed have already decided, though, what matters. They already know what neighborhoods are acceptable, what features are non-negotiable, what's a deal breaker, what's your maximum payment, how much updating are you willing to do. The clearer those answers become, the easier that every future decision becomes. And that, my friend, is why preparation creates confidence. This is probably the biggest surprise homeowners who haven't bought in a long time are gonna have. The way buyers work with agents today is very different than it used to be. Historically, most buyers never thought much about representation. They call an agent up when they were ready to see a house, and then they go take a look. Today, those conversations, they're happening much earlier. You're gonna likely discuss agency relationships, representation agreements, responsibilities, expectations, and compensation before you actively start touring homes. The important thing isn't memorizing all the paperwork, and God knows there's a lot of it. The important thing is understanding who represents you and what value that they're bringing to the table. Because in a competitive environment, having a strategy matters, and strategy usually comes from representation, not a website. The biggest mistake isn't financial, my friend. It's psychological. Buyers assume today's process is basically the same as the one that they remember. And honestly, that's understandable. If something worked the first time, why wouldn't it work again? But markets change, financing changes, inventory changes, like we've talked about. Buyer expectations change. The homeowners who have the smoothest moves aren't necessarily the more knowledgeable. They're simply willing to adapt. They treat the process as something new. They ask questions, they build a plan, they prepare before they act. And because of that, they tend to avoid the stress, surprises, and expensive mistakes that catch other buyers off guard. If I had to summarize the 4 mistakes I see most often, it would be these. Number 1, looking at homes before building a plan. Number 2, focusing on purchase price instead of monthly payment. Number 3, underestimating how quickly decisions sometimes need to be made. And number 4, assuming the process works exactly like it did the last time you bought. None of these mistakes are catastrophic, but every one of them creates friction, and friction usually leads to poor decisions. So if you've owned your current home for 10, 15, maybe 20 years, here's what I hope you take away from this video. The biggest change isn't the paperwork. It isn't the technology. It isn't even the interest rates. The biggest change is that preparation matters more than ever. The buyers who have the best experiences today typically start planning months before they start shopping. They understand their finances. They understand their options, and they create a strategy before they start making decisions. If you're considering a move in the next year or maybe 2, and you'd like to have some help thinking through your options, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to help you build a plan before you begin the process, because the best real estate decisions are almost always made before the first house is ever toured. I'm Jared Ernica with eXp Realty, Relationships, Reassurance. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you on the next one.